Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dorm Next Door episode 12. I've been here for now a dozen of these, and thank you to if there's one of you guys and that's listened to every single one of these episodes, then thank you so much. You mean the world to me. Actually, if this is the case and you are listening to this for the 12th time, if this is the 12th episode that you've listened to from me, reach out. I mean, you'll probably find this episode on my Instagram, wherever it might be. But I ask that you would make yourself known because I appreciate the heck out of you. You are just truly a blessing from God, and everybody that's listening, even if you're listening now for the first time. It's been a crazy week in our country, and I'm sure that you know that. It's been a lot busier for me. However, what's going on is hard to ignore. This was supposed to be the week. Today, right now, a couple hours ago, it was supposed to be the moment the Epstein files were released. Now, were the Epstein files released? No, absolutely not. They did not comply, and by they, I mean the Department of Justice. They did not comply with what Trump signed into law, which is the fact that we were supposed to see the Epstein files by today. They're supposed to be released, but apparently now they're going to be released over the next few weeks. But there's a lot of creepy language that's used, giving the reasons as to why we can't see these. It's all in the effort of protecting victims or protecting people that might be innocent. But one of the craziest reasons, and this is one of the reasons that Kash Patel gave, was actually that foreign countries and their privacy, their security could be jeopardized. Our relationship with a foreign country could be jeopardized with the release of these files. That's just what they said. So we should expect to see something or them to be slowly released over the next couple of weeks. But to be honest, we're not going to see them. If these things exist, the original raw files, they must have been burnt. Like, that's the thing. Maybe they do exist. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something that we should get the chance to see because they're out there, because the Department of Justice has them. But what we're seeing is from the PR run at the very beginning of this Trump administration, where you saw, DC Gerano and Jack Posobiec in front of the White House with these binders full of nothing, to what we're getting right now today with pictures of maybe Epstein is with Mick Jagger, Epstein with Bill Clinton, with Bill Gates, with Trump, whoever it is, pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's apartments. It's not what we are asking to see, what we're asking to know. What we want to know is who in the sphere of our country today, who in power, who with influence, who with money, committed crimes. Who we know today in the mainstream that should be in prison. That's what we want to see. We're not trying to see pictures of his apartment. We're not trying to see pictures of people who hung out with him. What we want is we want to know who running our country are criminals and compromised. Beyond that, sure, a lot of people were friends with this guy. But I don't think as a country we're going to get a list of names. And I think that's one of the scariest things. And I think it shows that we are no longer operating in consent of the governed. We have overlords at this point. And we, as a people who voted to get the release of these files, we as a people no longer have a say at all. This is the thing. This is the one thing that was supposed to bring us transparency, not necessarily trust, again, with our government. Not necessarily. But what we're supposed to see is we're supposed to get a good idea, and we're supposed to see that things were on the right track, because that is a great indicator that things are on the right track. A great indicator that things are on the right track is that we finally get transparency enough to have these things released so that the American public gets to know. So what's actually going on right now? Your government is withholding information from you that you guys voted to have declassified. That's what's going on. And the Department of Justice did not comply with the law that was signed in. So you know what? Case in point, here's the footnotes, here's the summary, here's the conclusion from all this. Our country is being run by criminals. I don't think that's going to shock anybody. But you know what? In good old-fashioned time to let's lift everybody's moods, I'm going to play, without context, a clip from Chuck Schumer this week. I have nothing else to say from this. Just watch this clip.
And of course, I'm going to say a few words about the terrible shooting in Sydney, Australia. Okay? So, and first, of course, as I always say, no matter what, go Bills. They beat the Patriots today. It's a big deal.
So, what the heck was that? Like, seriously? I'm just going to leave that there. Because this could be just a portion of the show where I just go on a tangent. I just monologue. And I know that's what this show really is. The podcast is me talking to you guys, me talking to a camera right now. So I'm just going to leave that one there and just let you kind of... I don't even know what's going on anymore. But, however, that is the first thing that's the first topic that we're going to cover, is the fact that it seems like, not even seems like, this country that you and I live in is being run by people that are breaking the law. Breaking the law. But it's been a tragic week. I mean, Rob Reiner got killed in his home. I'm not going to go into that, but Rob Reiner got killed in his home. There was a shooting at Brown University, which is an absolute tragedy. And then there was a shooting in Australia. But I'm actually going to talk about that one the most. And it's not something that I like talking about. A lot of people, what they tend to do is whenever a tragedy happens, they start breaking it apart. And a lot of this is done in good faith because they want to know, well, okay, are we being told the facts? Who is behind this? Whose interest could... Because nowadays it seems like some of these things could be maybe created. Maybe there could be some cooperation between large entities, higher powers, and the actual gunmen themselves. Right, we're seeing that's definitely possible as far as today is concerned. But I don't necessarily like to do that because I think that when there's a tragedy, there needs to be time recognizing that it is a tragedy. And people that don't know all the facts can jump on this train of assumption and conspiracy theory, not necessarily in terms of releasing information that's hidden, not in terms of putting the dots together, putting two and two together. I'm talking about people can go and start talking about conspiracy theories that they actually do not have the facts straight. They are believing things that are false, and then they can create a false narrative that just makes the whole situation ugly. Anyways, but from this situation, a world leader named we all know Benjamin Netanyahu, a world leader said something really, really odd about the Australian Prime Minister in response to this tragedy. The way people respond in tragedies tells you a lot about who they are, who they blame, what they do, how they cope. Everybody copes differently. Doesn't mean that the way that some people cope is not a sign that they have issues, that they are of darker meaning, that they are of a darker belonging, that their intentions as a person with this tragedy aren't evil or wicked. And so what he said in response was he blamed the Australian Prime Minister. Now, blaming world leaders, blaming the leaders of countries or cities, whatever, in the wake of horrible events, tragedies, disasters, anything, it's not new. I mean, people got upset with George Bush during Hurricane Katrina, and there were reasons behind that. People got upset. People get upset with presidents when there's mass shootings, whatever it might be. People blame Trump for COVID. But this is what Benjamin Netanyahu said. Now, there's a longer statement. I'm just going to read you one sentence from this. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese saying it was his fault, saying that Anthony was promoting and encouraging anti-Semitism in Australia. So he basically said a few months ago, when Anthony Albanese endorsed Palestinian statehood, he said that that was an endorsement of anti-Semitism in Australia. How? How is saying... Now, Benjamin Netanyahu is a staunch opponent of a two-state solution. He is absolutely opposed to it. So, him saying that this is Anthony Albanese's fault, saying that he was ramping up anti-Semitism, encouraging, supporting, in a way, anti-Semitism in Australia just by supporting Palestinian statehood 3 months ago, saying essentially that Australia had it coming, is very odd. It's very creepy. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's weird. Australia condemned what Israel is doing. They said that it was a genocide. They endorse Palestine's right to exist. And this is the kind of response that they get. These are the kinds of things that start happening. They get blamed for anti-Semitism. And when something like that happens, when innocent Jewish people are killed, it can look like that. It really can. But is the actual words and the actions of the Prime Minister anti-Semitic? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would think so. But it's interesting after an event like this, how people might just start changing their minds. Because obviously actions speak louder than words. So if these are the kind of things that are going to start to happen in Australia, well, why wouldn't people start to consider Australians, and more importantly, their prime minister, to be anti-Semitic, just like Benjamin Netanyahu said months ago? It's interesting. I'm not making a claim here. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that a lot of this stuff is really weird. It's just these things do not seem to add up. But then again, I'm not saying anything. I'm not making a claim. But what the things that are going on in Gaza are recognized largely by the world as being wrong, immoral, genocide, disgusting, evil. Okay, guys, as Christians, we call out evil regardless. And, sorry, I'm messing with my hair a lot. It's bad. It's dry out. Anyways, we do not, as Christians, have to side with Muslims or Jews, Buddhists, even though they're not really a part of the conversation because they just hang out. But we do not have to pick sides. We don't have to hang out with atheists. Well, you should, as a means of converting them and getting them saved. However, this notion that as a Christian, either you are on Team Israel or Team Iraq, Iran, whoever, is completely false. When you have God on your side, the real God, not the God that a false religion has created, but when you have the actual omnipotent, so all-powerful, when you have the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good God on your side, you should not make compromises to side with anyone. Doesn't matter if you are Tucker Carlson or you're the average megachurch evangelical pastor today siding with Israel. We realize and we believe that Jesus Christ is God. Regardless of Islam, holds him in reverence. They say that he was a great prophet and they believe in the teachings of the Gospels and the Psalms and the Proverbs. All that is great. I'm here to remind you guys, Satan is not anti-Jesus Christ was a good person. He's not anti-Jesus Christ taught amazing things and lived a beautiful life. He's not anti-applying Jesus' teachings from the Bible to your life, or that he was a real person, or that he was even a prophet of the Lord. He wants to do everything that he can in his power to not get you to admit and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ was God, walked this earth as God, born of a virgin, died on the cross after doing miracles his entire life and having the most perfect ministry the world has ever seen. And then after dying on the cross, bearing the weight of the world's sins, thinking of you and I on the cross, saying, "It is finished," dying, and then coming back 3 days later, conquering the grave, and then believing in him and that he has done those things and that he ascended and that he left the world, his word, and his church. That is what you cannot believe. You cannot believe in the divine, godly power of Jesus. So enough of having to make sides. It is Christianity and Christianity only. There is no compromise that Christians are going to make with either Islam or Judaism. It's not Judeo-Christian values, it's Christian values. It's Christ alone cornerstone, like the song says. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We know that we can do this alone because we are not of this world. We might be a citizen of a country, but our divine power is otherworldly, that dwells within us. So we don't rely on friendships with people who oppose our religion, because they do live in opposition. That is one of the most important things. So we're going to call out genocide. We're going to call out evil across the board. And we have the right to say that, because where morality comes from is our God. He stems directly from our God, because God is the creator of you and I. We bear his image, therefore we belong to him. So he gets to say in what's right or wrong. It's final. The stamp, the seal of the king is gone. It already happened. It's not waiting God's approval. This is the way that his design is. This is just the way it is. And so we'll look at a place like Gaza, having no access to humanitarian aid, having their landfills blocked. So now since October 7th, there are 900,000 tons of waste in the Gaza Strip that have nowhere to go, and 350,000 tons in Gaza City alone, creating a very, very hazardous environment for everybody that lives there. As Christians, we're not saying this is just the way it is. We're not. Because we shouldn't simply accept it. We should say that it is wrong because it is, and it's disgusting and it's vile. Then again, we are loyal to one. So we can say that Israel should be doing a much better job, and if that they were honest about what they were actually doing, they would figure out a way to not get innocent people tied up in it, because you just figure out how to do it. SWAT teams, Homeland Security, FBI, cops. I'm talking about American heroes, American authorities figure out these things all the time. They figure out how they can take out the bad guy without the hostage getting harmed. It's their job. So it doesn't matter. The argument is dead that, well, Hamas is evil. So, Hamas is using all these tens and thousands of innocent children to hide behind. So it's their fault. All the blood's on their hands. No, it's not. Because you can make a conscious decision. There was a conversation that Benjamin Netanyahu had with Joe Biden, and Biden literally called him out. Look, I'm going to say it. Biden had a good moment. And he said, you can't just kill all these innocent people. And Benjamin Netanyahu's response was, well, you guys did it. And then Biden says, well, that is the way it was in the past. However, we right our wrongs. We decide to make things illegal. We decided through conventions that the world came together, and we decided that we wouldn't do it anymore, and that it would be evil, and it is wrong. Now, actually, I'm going to play that clip. Watch this.
I said, but Bibi, I said, you can't be carpet bombing these communities. And he said to me, well, you did it. You carpet bombed, not his exact words, but you carpet bombed Berlin. You dropped a nuclear weapon. You killed thousands of innocent people. because you had to in order to win a war. I said, but that's why we came up with the UN. New deals by which what we would do relative to civilians and military.
So he was comparing 21st century war tactics, battle tactics, with World War II.
Well, what he was really doing is he was going after me for saying you can't indiscriminately bomb civilian areas, even if the bad guys are there. Even if the bad guys there, you can't take out 2, 10, 12, 1,500 people, innocent people, in order to get the one bad guy.
See, he's right. He's completely right. So these arguments that we've been hearing for the last 2 years on repeat, they don't really have any standing anymore. Because you can look at your own country and say, well, okay, I know they're saying that they're going about it this way, but in the United States, we don't even go about it that way. We figure it out. We go around it. We do extra work. We do whatever it takes because we understand the value of an innocent human life. We don't look at them as just something in our path that we have to, it doesn't matter what happens because the end goal is the most important part. No. We understand that innocent human life requires some sort of compromise. It requires doing things differently. It shouldn't just be a straight line from point A to point B, and then whatever's in the way just so happens to be the fault of the evil person. No, that's not how we are as a country. And even if it is this way, we figure out, even if we have to go in circles, if we have to go in the direction of an S, whatever shape we create, that's not a straight line from point A to point B. Whatever adventure we go on in the path, if it means doing a million other things, we figure out how to prevent the loss of innocent life. Because we are still, I believe, a Christian nation. I have said many times before that we aren't anymore. But if we just say that we aren't anymore, it feels kind of like surrender. That's what I think. I'm not ready to give up on my country, but I'm ready for morality to come from the United States because the United States gets its morality from the Bible. So we can say it's wrong. We should say it's wrong. Why are we on our back foot? Why are we bending over backwards for what a little country who doesn't even believe in Jesus Christ is trying to tell us what we should believe? Why do we just listen to them? So, moving forward, the title of this episode is the most censored story, the most censored news story of 2025. And it doesn't necessarily make sense to me why it is the most censored news story of 2025, because it's not all that exciting. It's not necessarily what you'd expect. But what it is that ICE is now tracking United States citizens in terms of what they post on social media and whether or not they are criticizing or critiquing ICE itself as a means to further detect those that are living in our country illegally. And there are 20 plus million people as of right now living in our country illegally, and they are breaking the law. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say it is an act of terrorism. However, it is simply against the law. Therefore, they should not be here. But in the act of figuring out how to get these people out, the ends do not always justify the means. In 2001, in order for our country to go after terrorists, which was very popular at the time, our rights got signed away and we did not get them back. We have to pay attention to moments where we get angry or we get upset and we want to act on emotion or impulse, so that we realize that, or we make sure that we are not going to be waving away our rights, which are only going to harm us in the long run. So in 2001, when Americans started being spied on a mass scale, we reached the point where we give the government another green light to do the same thing in terms of ICE. So it's not even about the illegal immigrants in this sense. It's about federal overreach, which is a constant thing that's been happening. And it's not unique to any president. From Bush till today, and intelligence has been doing it prior to Bush, but from Bush 2, from George W. Bush till today, we have this major problem. we have federal overstepping, and it's not going to be talked about in media. Criticisms of government get censored. Every time I post a short on YouTube and I mention Jeffrey Epstein, that short does not get views. YouTube does not let anybody see it. So censorship is a real thing. And it's something that we've largely learned how to live with, which is no good. And it's not the way that we get our country back. No. It's actually a way that we continue losing our country. So furthermore, beyond what ICE is doing, but beyond that being the number one most censored story, what you've also got is you've got Palantir now essentially being caught. They are the largest government contractor for the future of government surveillance on a mass scale through facial recognition with the use of artificial intelligence that got its start at around 2001. And what we know now from them is that they're not just involved with the United States, but they're also involved in Israel. And so I'm going to read you this. And it is that during the 2024 infamous pager attack on Hezbollah, it has been shown that Palantir engineers were flown to Israel in decent numbers because Palantir's technology was used by Israel. It was used by the Secretive and Destructive Unit 8200 to conduct and to create the technology to make this pager attack possible. And they're contracting with their own government. So those people that exist to work in our government have the capability to do it to us. They could do it to us if they decided one day. And they are very, very good at not leaving a trail of crumbs behind whatever action they do, whatever crime that they commit. Because this is terrorism. This is what it was. Ben Shapiro thought it was hilarious. He thought it was funny. He made a whole video about how hilarious he thought this was. But you know what's not funny to me is that these same people are contracting with the government. These same people here are getting a lot of money. These are the same people that are friends and started PayPal with Elon Musk. I don't think it's funny. This is the same company where the co-founder gave J.D. Vance $15 million for his Senate run. Not saying everything J.D. Vance does is going to be endorsed by Peter Thiel or in Peter Thiel's interest or in Palantir's best interest, but it is a question to be raised. We should always be raising questions as to, well, who are our politicians taking money from, and do they protect that person's interests in what they believe, or whether or not they're going to take legislative action if it would harm their biggest donor. So, if anything, it's not like we should just be judge, jury, and executioner, but we have the right to ask questions, and we should. And the fact that we keep asking questions, the fact that in every comment section on a Fox News Instagram post today is, who cares, release the Epstein files, or every Trump post is, release the Epstein files. The act of us doing this is us no longer letting up, is us no longer just giving up ground anymore. Because if we're finally realizing that if we don't push, then we're going to continue to watch our country slip through our fingers and having elections where both candidates were carefully selected to continue the psychological operation that's going on in our country. So last thing I want to say, I cannot confirm this. I do not believe this. I do not believe this. But it's even rumored that those IDF soldiers that participated and carried out said pager attack have been hired by Apple. I literally swear, this cannot be confirmed. But I've seen it, and I think that it should be looked into, right, to at least confirm that it's not true. But these are the kinds of things that we are seeing. And so, let's say it's not. The government distrust is at a rate like never before. Distrust for government is at such an all-time high that even when they're not guilty of the thing they're accused of, we are all going to assume that they are guilty. Because historically, pattern recognition shows that our own government does not hold our best interest in mind. So, that's false. Sure, as far as I know, that's false. It's not true. But from everything that we know about our own government and how they act on our interests for the interests of other countries, as far as we know about our own government, it would be true. But it is not. I'm saying this right now. It's just something that leads us to ask more questions and to wonder more. So research. I research. You should research. I want to research more because I want to know more. I should know more. I want to understand this all better. But until then, what you'll receive is what I'm providing. And I want to increase the level in which I give you information. I want to make it more dynamic. I want to make it better. But as far as I'm concerned, that's all I got regarding that. I might look into it a little bit deeper, but it is just interesting to think about. It's an interesting thing for sure. Well, that does it for this episode. Episode 12, a dozen. Next week it'll be a baker's dozen. And that's actually the day after Christmas too. So, no shame if you don't tune into that one. Totally get it. But I'm so thankful that you tuned into this episode. Share it with a friend, 2 friends, 3 friends, your whole family. Go to a Christmas party and bring a QR code. Actually, I don't even have a QR code. Bring a link to the website, airdrop it to everybody. Get the name, get the podcast, The Dorm Next Door out there. But in all seriousness, I'm so thankful that you joined me for this episode and that you took time out of your week to listen to this episode number 12 of the Dorm Next Door podcast. Take care.